sometimes I just want to rank stuff. So today, I am going to make a tier list of my current Kindle series. And I'm treating this as on a series level because if we were to rank every book in my Kindle library, we'd be here all day. Also, I've recently switched from Kindle to Kobo, so I figure the library is set now, nothing's going to add to it. So that's what I'm doing. I'm making a tier list of the series in my Kindle library. And the tiers we're using is I love this too much to be trusted on it. It's got really great world building. It's got good world building. It's got lazy world building, but good characters and plot. It's just lazy world building. Okay, you ready? Let's go. First series is Stormlight Archive from Brandon Sanderson. This is a great series. It's a very epic fantasy series, very big. The world is powered by these ever storms and people learn magic because of trauma. It's fantastic. So we'll put it in very good world building. Next up is Trope of Shadows by Jenning Zabrinsky. This is an indie author that I really enjoyed, and it goes into good world building. It's kind of a Western fantasy with a cowboy flair, but with like weird races and a weird setup with empires and so on. It was a very fun read. Highly recommend. Goes into good world building. Whoo! Our next one is Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. And it goes straight into I love this too much to be trusted, and it is our first entry on that tier. Our next one is another Brandon Sanderson, and this is Mistborn series. Mistborn is fantastic. Allomancy is a great magic system. I really enjoy the journey of Mistborn as well. I'll say this about Sanderson. Man, he's got this tendency to set up these enormous class tensions and then sidestep the actual revolution part so completely. Like there is revolution, but it's not, Anyway, he leaves me a little bit with like revolutionary blue balls sometimes. Anyway, so Mistborn goes into really great world building, and I think it is even better than Stormlight Archive, in my opinion. You can argue with me in the comments. So it is going to go into the first tier of that rank. Oh, here we have Murdoch's Web by Chalky Clark. And I did an interview with Chalky. He's another indie author, by the way, which you can check out in the information card, where we spoke about his love for where we spoke about how he designed his spiders and so on. And Murdoch's Web can go into good world building, I think. I like it. I think it's a little bit weaker than Trope of Shadows. Not much weaker, but I think it's a little weaker than Trope of Shadows. So I would put it in good world building just below Trope of Shadows. Next we come to Devery by Catherine Kerr. And if you can see well, you can't. I have signed copies of all of them. And I obviously love this way too much to be trusted. Devery is basically a whole reincarnation-based world. It's inspired by the Celtic world of Great Britain before the Roman invasion, and it's very well researched. It's really, really well researched, and it's really a great, very different world from the normal kind of Frankish nobility of medieval Europe, and it plays deeply into the reincarnation thread of its world, with like the main character Jill needing to work out her weird over multiple lives across the story. It's great. Highly recommend. I love it way too much to be trusted, and it goes straight into I love it too much to be trusted above Lord of the Rings. You can fight me in the comments. This is my tier list. Okay. Next is Bloodsworn by John Gwain. I really enjoyed the first book. I finished the second book. I haven't yet tackled the third book. I enjoy Bloodsworn, and it's got some really strong world building. I'm just not quite ready to face thought cages again. If you've read the books, if you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so Bloodsworn is this Nordic-inspired world. Very fun, awesome. The gods have died. Ragnarok has happened. You've got corpses of the gods lying everywhere, and there are these people who have God's blood that are kept enthralled by normal humans in order to give them magic, and the magic system is very deep. Actually, I think I've just talked myself into reading the third book. So I think I'm over thought cages, and I will go back and read that third book. It is a very, very fun world, and it will go into really great world building below Mistborn, because Allomancy really is top tier peak, but above Stormlight Archive. I feel like its world building, for me, is stronger than Stormlight Archive. Ooh, A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin. I mean, you know what this world is. It's a very typical European medieval world with dragons. It is War of the Roses with zombies, right? That's what it is. And it's amazing, and I love it way too much to be trusted. So, it goes in... I think it goes in... Obviously, it goes in below Devery. Sorry, but that's just a fact. But I think it goes in above Lord of the Rings. I think so. I love Lord of the Rings. It is a deep and fantastic world. But I think I love A Song of Ice and Fire more because I like the deeper, more realistic look at politics that George R.R. Martin does. And that is just because I like political fantasy. Your mileage obviously vastly varies on whether you like political fantasy or not. Comments, fight me in the comments. Shadows of the Apt by Adrian Tchaikovsky. So I've had Adrian on this channel twice. You can check those out. I really loved these books, but not quite as much as I love this too much to be trusted. I can still see some of the flaws in Shadows of the Apt. So I think it goes into really great world building. So let me just briefly say, Shadows of the Apt is a world where there are people who are, they're humans, but they have insect attributes. So they're like the spider kindin and the beetle kindin and so on. And they all have their own kind of special abilities. And it's an almost military political fantasy, epic fantasy, with like the kingdom of the empire of the wasps invading the lowland, and then the beetles kind of resisting them, and the ants resisting them, and forming coalitions, and the wasps coming with like military force as well as magic and so on. So it's a really, really good series. The only reason why I wouldn't put it into I love this too much to be trusted is because I say I do see flaws in it. Like book 6 feels a little bit like it's just there, to kind of introduce the sea kindin, which we haven't heard of before. It felt a little abrupt and things like that. So I think it goes into really great world building. I think it becomes the number 1 there. I think it's above Mistborn. Okay. Above Mistborn. Really great world building, just short of I love this too much to be trusted. Next, Memory, Thorn and Shadow by Tad Williams. So I enjoyed these books, and I'm not saying I didn't. I enjoyed their politics, I enjoyed their setup, I enjoyed everything about them. And you all can fight me in the comments if you like. But it's going into lazy world building but has a great plot, and I'll tell you why. If you read Memory, Thorn and Shadow, And like I said, don't get me wrong, I love these books. But if you read it, you will realize, to your shock, that Tad Williams lifted Christianity and put it just like that into a book. Like, honestly, he did. Yeah. It's the Christ sacrificial story. The guy was nailed to a tree. He formed a church. The church is pretty much like dime for dime the Roman Catholic Church. It is genuinely very much lifted straight from there. Now, he did introduce fantasy elements. I'm not saying he didn't, but it was a somewhat, like it's lazy world building, but it's great lazy world building. Okay, so he's going into lazy world building, but understand that, not lazy world building, just lazy world building with with great characters, amazing plot, really well added fantasy elements, but still lazy world building. Fight me in the comments. Ooh, Dresden Files. I love this too much to be trusted. Obviously, you've heard me talk about Dresden Files, I'm sure. Dresden Files is an urban fantasy by Jim Butcher, and it's a wizard in Chicago who openly operates as a wizard and helps the police solve crimes, and then the story escalates from there into a proper, like, epic fantasy storyline. And it goes below Lord of the Rings. Yeah, definitely below Lord of the Rings, but into I love this too much to be trusted. Oof. Jacqueline Carey's Terror de Ange books, all of them. I love this too much to be trusted. Yeah, it goes into the top. It is number one in the tier, and I sincerely doubt that anything else in my Kindle library is going to shift these books. I love Jacqueline Carey's Terror de Ange with an insight. You cannot convince me that these books have flaws. Okay? You can say whatever you like, and I will come up with a reason why that is not a flaw. It is a benefit. I'm telling you now, you cannot convince me that anything about these books is wrong. So, I love this too much to be trusted. Number one. No questions asked. Terror de Ange is, by the way, a story of a courtesan spy. It's kind of like a historical fantasy set in fantastical France. And the main character is Phaedra, who's a courtesan and a spy and a masochist. And Jacqueline herself described her once as a damsel who enjoys being in distress. Anyway, I also did a couple of interviews with Jacqueline, which you can, I'll link the interview playlist and you can check out who I've had interviews with. Next is Black Magician by Trudy Canavan. So these books are fun. They're like a YA type of, a young adult type of coming of age stories about a peasant girl called Sonia who's discovered to have magical powers, and she's pulled into the magic guild, and then kind of her adventures unfold from there. And it is some really good world building. It's got some great magic systems and so on. I will say, though, the politics is a little flat. I mean, it is young adult in its world building. I mean, it's not terrible or anything, but it is simpler, I guess, than the kind of epic fantasy that is my true love in world building. So I will say that Black Magician goes below Murdoch's Web into good world building. Okay. Next is Pern by Anne McCaffrey. So Pern is set in a secondary world. It's kind of sci-fi-ish in that people arrived in Pern from Earth, and then they were attacked from space. So they took native animals and turned them into dragons. And there are people who now have telepathic bonds with these dragons, and so they can ride the dragons against threads. This was really great world building. It was a really fun series all the way up to about Dolphins of Pern. After that, it kind of falls off a cliff. But, up to there, it was great. All the Ways of Pern is probably my favorite in the series. And I would say it goes into really great world building. Well, you all are going to go ballistic in the comments. above Stormlight Archive. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Next, we get to the Talent series, also by Anne McCaffrey. So this is a fun series as well. So basically, there are people who have these like telepathic abilities, and they form these towers, and they communicate with each other, via their telepathy, and they're kind of the transport glue that holds the whole 9-star league together. And we follow like Rowan and so on, and her experiences as a child and growing up to become one of these primes and so forth. I will say that some of the world building, especially on the political side, is a little flat. Like it's very, yeah, sure, okay, 9 people control the world, basically. You know what I mean? So I will say that the Talent series for me was good world building. Oh, the other thing I didn't like about it was, but this is just an Anne McCaffrey problem. She'll have these like strong female characters, then they'll meet a guy, then they'll marry that guy, and then that guy will become the leader. Almost inevitably. It happens in Pern with Lessa, who marries Floor. It happens in the Talent series with Rowan, who meets, I can't remember who she meets. Anyway, that guy, and he becomes the Earth Prime. It's just very, very product of her time was Anne McCaffrey. Anyway, so, it's fine. It doesn't matter if you do that sometimes. Like, sometimes that's how life works, right? Girl meets guy, guys may be better suited, guy takes leadership role. It's fine. It happens that way sometimes. But when it happens in all your books all the time, it's very much a pattern. Anyway, Talent series. Good world building. Below Black Magician, so our new number 4 in good world building. Percy Jackson and Friends by Rick Riordan. I really enjoyed this. It's young adult. There's a lot of young adult about it, right? Absolutely. But I really enjoyed Percy Jackson. It was a fun read. So it can go into really great world building. But I think Pern's world building is better. Because, one of the things that I will say that I'm not sure that I agree with Riordan on is he basically made the Greek gods and the Roman gods the same gods. And I don't think that is, strictly speaking, 100% true. There was syncretism between the two cultures. But I don't think they're 100% the same god, and I don't think they copied the gods. So, okay. So, really great world building below Pern. And Percy Jackson is basically a story of like a kid who is the god of the sea's son, and like in today's day and age, he now has to go on like Herculean quests and crap like that, right? Like child of the gods quests and stuff. A lot of fun. Great books. Oh, here we go. The Voldemort books by Mercedes Lackey. I really enjoyed all these books, like all of them. They were fantastic. They were a fun read. I must say, they edged their way into great world building. Even though, like the reason why I'm hesitant about it is because, again, their politics is a little flat. Like, there's the politics inevitably comes down to kind of like, but if you remove the evil vizier, then all is well with the world. Like at one point, the evil sun priests are literally removed by the god of the Carsians, and they are replaced with a good sun priest, right, to lead the nation. And it's just like, 100% you can do that, but that is a literal deus ex machina on your politics. So I'm going to say it edges into great world building. Edges into it. Toll books by Tamora Pierce. So these are all young adult books, and they kind of have that young adult little flatness. So I'm going to say this is good world building, because it's basically just like European knights. with a little bit of D&D magic thrown in. It's very much like that. That's it's world building. It's a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong. If you have kids, absolutely recommend both Mercedes Lackey and Tamora Pierce's books. Your kids will love them, and they're filled with great characters. So. Oh, hello. Jacqueline Carey, Starless. I Love This Too Much to Be Trusted, obviously. This is a great standalone book, by the way. If you like epic fantasy and you want a standalone book, this one is amazing. It's about... No, I can't. No, I can't do it without spoilers. Go read the book. It goes below Dresden Files in I Love This Too Much to Be Trusted. Oh, here we got another Jacqueline Carey. Dark Currents. I Love It Too Much to Be Trusted. It goes below Starless in I Love It Too Much to Be Trusted. And it's an urban fantasy book about a town whose name I can't pronounce, where the character goes, where the main character is the child of a demon, and then there's also a Norse goddess living in the town for whom who's the character's boss, who she works for. And then there is the end of the world kind of is starting to spiral, and the character needs to, because she's a demon child and blah, 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 she needs to do things to prevent it, this clash between heaven and hell kind of setup. Very cool. If you like urban fantasy, I highly recommend Dark Currents. Patrick Rothfuss, Name of the Wind. You're going to fight me in the comments. I did not like Kose. I don't like him. I don't think he's a compelling character. I didn't enjoy his adventures. I do think the world is very well done though. So I will give it really great world building at the end of the queue. Because I can't deny it's got good world building. It's an uncompelling protagonist. Fight me in the comments if you want. Orson Scott Card, Ender's Quintet. So, this is a science fiction military story, and it's interesting. It's a very interesting read. It's a very compelling read. It's got some very compelling characters. It's got a very compelling theme. But as far as world building goes, it's a little on the weak side, I'm not going to lie. I would say it's got good world building, but not great. And that's actually my feeling on most of Orson Scott's Card. You can absolutely have a battle royale with me in the comment, but I don't think Orson Scott Card's world building is that fantastic. So it goes into good world building. We'll put it above Tortal. Mark Lawrence, Prince of Thorns. I never read the rest of the series. I could not get past the character that Mark Lawrence wanted me to follow. That was rough. The opening scene of Prince of Thorns was rough. It's a post-apocalyptic Europe. I advise you to have a strong stomach if you read this book. It is a good book, and Mark Lawrence is an excellent writer. Excellent writer. But you need a strong stomach for this puppy. I'm going to say it has good world building, better than Ender's Quintet. Yeah. David Gemmell, John Chanel. Oh my goodness. I love this too much to be trusted. I love the John Chanel novels. You will pry them out of my cold, dead hands. I don't care. You can't take my opinion on them. Below Dark Currents, though. So John Chanel is this kind of post-apocalyptic Western type of world where like the oceans have tilted, so everybody's kind of walking around where there's now, there's like the Titanic is sitting on a mountain and stuff like that. And it's gloriously, it's just glorious. John Chenau is amazing. I highly recommend. I love it. Oh, here we come with the rest of David Gemmell. So I own most of David Gemmell's books. I enjoy them. But I'm going to tell you that the rest of his world building, look, he writes well, and I enjoy his stories. But the world building is a little on the lazy side. I'm not going to lie. He's very casually kind of like, I fix the problem with substrated stones, or I take the situation that has arisen and I pretty much just take historical examples and plop them in just like that. Like many of his books are basically just our world with a little sprinkling of fantasy. And sometimes a very small sprinkling of fantasy, sometimes almost no fantasy at all. So I'm going to say that the rest of David Gemmell's books all go into lazy world building, but with good characters and plot. Joining Tad Williams. Oof, here we go. Dragon Trilogy by Weiss and Hickman. I love it too much to be trusted. It's D&D. Okay, these are the original D&D book, the original lit RPG book, if you will. It goes into I love this too much to be trusted, below John Chenau, but very much in that tier. Next is the Test Trilogy, again, from Weiss and Hickman. This is the time of the twins, the test of the twins, and so on. Yeah, no. I love it too much to be trusted. I love it more than the original Dragon Trilogy. Oh, hello. Anne McCaffrey, Crystal Singer. And same trend here, by the way. We have a strong character in Kilishandra, the Crystal Singer. We meet her. She becomes a Crystal Singer. A Crystal Singer is somebody who goes out into this Ballybrawn planet and and mines crystal out of the Ballybrawn, and then these crystals are used for communication and star drives and so on across the galaxy. And she's a really compelling character, and then in book 2 she meets a guy, she falls in love, and that guy becomes the guild master. And this is like, anyway, I've already said my piece. I will say that Crystal Singer was a fun read, and it was good world building. Perhaps really, okay, it was really great world building. Yeah. We can put it at the end of really great world building. Maybe one higher. Yeah. And the reason why it's not like above that is because some of the world building feels a little rushed. It's a whole galaxy, but some parts of it are very kind of rushed, very introduced, very fast, and so on. And that, I guess, just because she wanted that sci-fi scope, but I think she went a little fast for some of it. Whoo! Laurel K. Hamilton, Anita Blake. Lazy world building, but with good characters. So this is a urban fantasy novel. It goes below David Gemmell. These are urban fantasy novels. It's got a necromancer character who hunts vampires. And vampires are openly part of society, but when they go rogue, you need to hunt them down because you can't keep them in a prison, and that's Anita Blake's job. So it was a fun read until Narcissus and Change. Do not read beyond that unless what you're looking for is porn. They become porn. Meredith Gentry. Same. So Meredith Gentry is the same as Anita Blake, except it's fairies. And the titular character is trying to become the queen of the fairy world, which is Meredith Gentry. I would say lazy world building with good character, but below Anita Blake. For me, I think Anita Blake's world building was stronger than the Meredith Gentry world building, which I thought was a little weak in some ways. David Eddings, The Belgariad. Lazy world building with good characters. So this is very much, it's full of trope of the hats. The magic system is as basic as you could make it. It's got a classic prophecy. He tells the same story twice. It's just, yeah. it's so lazy. But it's got good characters. It's got a good plot. I've learned things about David Eddings that I wish I didn't know. He skip. I'll put a timestamp somewhere. Anyway, if you don't know, like he went to jail for child abuse. Not a great person. Really not a great person in the 1970s. So in the 1970s, you had to do a lot to go to jail for child abuse. But he is dead now, and so is his wife, who knew about it. And the proceeds of any book sales go to his children, which, the victims in this case. So that is why I very freely still recommend David Eddings' books, because, the money goes to maybe undo some of the harm that he did. Anyway. Don't meet your heroes, kids. Don't meet your heroes. Lazy world building with good characters. Next is another David Eddings. Good. This is Sparhawk. So I enjoyed Sparhawk more than I enjoyed the Belgariad. It's got a deeper world building, better political system. It's got a nicer setup of the different factions. It's a much richer story. And I would say that it goes into good world building below Prince of Thorns. Yeah. I would say that it's a good world building. Yeah. Yeah. Good world building. And then my last David Eddings is Redemption of Althalis, which is also good world building. It's kind of like I would say a Bronze Age-ish kind of fantasy. I know, it was a fun read anyway. Can recommend. Why do you think people are assholes? It's just like anyway. Let's carry on. Judith Tarr, The Hound and the Falcon. I love this too much to be trusted. So this is a historical fantasy, and Judith Tarr herself is a historical medieval scholar. So the research is off the charts good. It's set during, I think it's the Second Crusade with Richard the Lionheart and so on. The fantasy is well integrated. The historical details are glorious. I freaking love these books. Bottom of I love this too much to be trusted. Ooh, hello. God Speaker by Karen Miller. This is like Prince of Thorns. You need a strong stomach for this book. I did actually finish this trilogy though, so I'll give her that. She made me follow this character, despite the fact that it is damn. So God Speaker is about a character who is taken as a slave, and then she basically, like, in resisting slavery, she basically turns into this heinous, empress-wielding, power-hungry villain character. It's spectacular. But you're gonna need some internal fortitude for this one. It's fantastic. I would say it goes into really great world building, bottom of the tier. Yeah. Cradle. Okay, so the Cradle trilogy is a progression fantasy. I got to about book 4 before I kind of lost a little bit of interest in it. It's a lot of fun. It's if you like progression fantasy, it's a great read. I would say this is really, really good world building. Like top part of really good world building. Yeah, we'll put it there. Okay. Oh, hello, Terry Pratchett, Discworld. Really great world building. Number one, fantastic. I love Discworld. I think it's amazing in its weirdness, in its complexities, in the way it's put together, in the dry class kind of humor that Pratchett inserts. I will never forget Vimes's Boots economic theory. The Culture by Ian M. Banks. So The Culture is a really fun set of sci-fi novels where you've got like people in the culture basically have no needs and so on, and they're ruled by like these AIs, these benevolent AIs, and the only thing that they just they kind of long for experiences, and that's why they leave the culture and go out among non-culture worlds and so on. I would say that this is really good world building. Like, yeah. On the higher side. Yeah. Harry Potter. Lazy world building. Don't meet your heroes, kids. The Traitor Baru Cormorant by Seth Dickinson. If you like economics, this was an amazing read. If you like politics, this was a great read. If you want your characters to be heroic, do not read this book. You will not enjoy it. I enjoyed The Traitor Baru Cormorant very much. Very, very much. And I will say that its world building is really good. Better than Ulthulis and Sporok. Oh, hello. The Bartemis Trilogy by Jonathan Stroud. So this is like a demon kind of England where you draw powers from demons, and there are demons who, they kind of rule the world and so on. Not the demons, I mean the wizards who control the demons. I would say that this goes into really great world building, below Crystal Singer. Yeah, really great world building. Gideon of the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. I wanted to like this very much. I genuinely wanted to like this. It just wasn't for me. But I will say that the world building was fun. And I would say that it's got some really good world building. It's, I'm going to give you the same pitch as was given me. Lesbian necromancers in space. So if that sounds interesting to you, go give those books a try. Like, I genuinely wanted to like them. They just weren't for me. Oh, hello. Jewel Rosenberg, the Sleeping Dragon series. I love this. I absolutely love this. Like, it's D&D, right? Like the Tracy Weiss and Hickman stuff, but it's fantastic. It's a kind of a portal fantasy. And I will say that this is really great world building towards the end of the... Oh, okay, maybe it's good world building towards the top. Good world building, top tier. Top of the tier, good world building. The Black Company by Glenn Cook. I love these books, but the world building is off the charts lazy. I mean, it is really lazy, right? He doesn't define anything. Not the magic, not what they look like, nothing. But the characters leap off the page at you. This is fantastic military fiction. Peak military fiction. Really lazy world building, and it'll go into the really world building. But man, the characters. So, number one, lazy world building with good characters. Feist. All of them at Chemia Books. It's very D&D, but it's solid. I would say really good. probably a bit better than Gideon of the Ninth. So let's put it there. Oh, hello. Feist and Words. I love this too much to be trusted. The Calawan series. I love the Calawan series. So, this is basically like the alternate world, ultimate Chemia, and it's like a kind of Japanese empire style setup. I freaking love it. It's so well done. I love it too much to be trusted. Below Dresden Files. Above Starless. Yeah. Oh, hello, Brian McClellan, the Powder Mage trilogy. I would say this goes into really great towards the bottom. So what I loved about the Powder Mage trilogy is the two different magic systems, the politics, the revolution. Actually, a little higher, maybe middle of this tier. I wasn't crazy about all the characters. And that's the thing that kind of dragged a little for me. Like that one guy who had like 7 children, the children just vanished from the story. And I was like, no, not so crazy about that. But it was really well done. So Brian McClellan's Powder Mage trilogy can sort of head towards the middle. And then all we're left with is my own books, Magic Fall and Sangwell Chronicles, and I will not put them in a tier because obviously I think that they are brilliant and you should read my books and you should support the channel doing it. Links to those down below. And if you enjoyed this tier list, let me know in the comments what you think. What is your tier list? And would you like me to do another tier list at some time where I take, I don't know, maybe my Kobo library, once that's built up a bit, or maybe my physical books library, though I had to unfortunately get rid of most of those when I moved countries. Anyway, that was a tier list. I will see you soon for another video.